Hello, I'm Deanna Hanson-Abromeit, and I am a professor of music therapy at the University of Kansas in Lawrence. And I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about some of our outcomes from our feasibility trial of a music-based intervention that was really looking at early language development and parents in a community setting. So one of the things that we know through the literature is that early exposure to language-rich environments are very, very important for later language learning. And in that first 2 years, we really want high-quality reciprocal interactions with rich vocal interplay between primary caregivers and their infants, babies and their parents, right? And that these really help foster later language development. So that you have an idea of what this actually looks like or sounds like in the real world, I'm going to play a little clip for you from my friend having a conversation in the car with his 1-year-old daughter. And I want you to listen to the approximations in her vocalizations that approximate words, but also from a music perspective, if you can hear kind of melodic contours and different changes in pitch that are helping Terry at 12 months of age have a conversation with her dad. And so this will just kind of give you an example of what we're aiming for in these high quality language interactions.
Mm-hmm. I hear you, yeah. Go ahead. I know. Yes, it's been raining the whole day. The whole day for sure. Uh-huh. I walked in the rain from church to the university. Yeah, to my office, and it's been raining. Good enough, I had my umbrella. Yes, my umbrella.
So this is a really beautiful conversation that my friend shared with me, and I loved this example because it helps us understand that it's not just this one-way conversation that we're offering to a baby, or when the baby's vocalizing and we have no idea what they're actually saying, how we can still reinforce that. So we're getting these reciprocal interactions called conversational turns, and that the longer we have this back and forth conversation, we increase the language exposure through these conversational episodes. We also know that living in under-resourced environments can put these early language experiences at risk, and these can be to a variety of factors that put us into kind of feeling under-resourced, whether it is a socioeconomic status or having fewer social supports, or also living in a very high-stressed environment. So we know that music is part of everyday life in most people's lives in some way, shape, or form. And we also know that parents of young children are using music in their homes and in their interactions as part of their everyday routines. Music is freely available online. We can play it through Apple Music, or Miss Rachel is a very famous and a very loved person online. And we also have community-based music enrichment classes. And so sometimes these things are really easily available, and sometimes they're more costly, which can be a barrier to access. However, most of these music-based experiences with relationship to infant development are very general in their developmental outcomes or their music education experiences, and we're looking for enriching environments. Previously, we have identified that community-based enrichment classes with families that are not designated to do anything specifically targeted in terms of general development do foster these reciprocal language-rich interactions, and that those can extend past the first year of infancy. But we do not have any known evidence-based music interventions that intentionally promote parent-infant responsive interactions and vocal interplay to support early pre-linguistic language development, such as joint attention, gestures, and vocalizations. And so that is what the infant pre-linguistic singing intervention was designed to do. It emerged out of clinical practice, and we were doing it with in a community-based setting with families from the community to see if it actually can help boost parents' vocal-rich interactions. I knew that was going to happen. I have to move that cursor away from them.
I hear you, yeah. Go ahead.
There we go. So this is just a visual image of what the components of the intervention looks like, and it's very designed to target through the novel songs, through songs that were written to address joint attention, gestures, and vocalizations that have increasing complexity of them, and then integrating that with a book where we use the Itsy Bitsy Spider, and then an indestructible book with the Itsy Bitsy Spider visual images, and then integrating all of those things as we closed the intervention. So in this study, we had 2 research aims. The first to determine if the IPLS shows promise at boosting those interactions with families, and then the second was to evaluate the intervention implementation within a community context. So I'm going to talk to you today about the results that we have on our first aim. So we conducted a 1-arm small-scale feasibility study of the intervention with both pre-post assessments and questionnaires. So the pre-post assessments where we had families either work in 2-minute sections of activities where they played with their baby with a group of toys that we provided for them, and then they were asked to sing with their baby with a song that they wanted to sing, and then move to reading with their babies. And we did that both before the intervention and then after the intervention. We also had parents complete 2 questionnaires, Music at Home and Speak, and I'll tell you a little bit more about those in a minute. And then we had a music enactment questionnaire where beginning in session 2, we gave the families a questionnaire asking them, hey, did you sing any of these songs that you're learning in this music group at home? And if so, which ones? And then when did you sing them? Did you sing them in the car? Did you sing them when you were changing the diapers? Did you sing them when you were eating? To get an idea of context of where the songs were being sung. We had 14 families who participated, so not as many as we were hoping. We had a lot of recruitment challenges, which provided a great learning experience. Our infants in the study ranged from 6 to 14 months at the beginning of the study. We had 14 mothers who attended all of the sessions with their baby, and we had 2 fathers. One father participated in all of the study activities with his partner and baby, and another father came to most of the music sessions. In our infants, 3 were between 6 to 7 months of age, 4 between 8 to 10 months, and 6 between 12 to 14 months. So even in our 14 parents, a very small group, we still had a nice distribution of different age ranges in that 6 to 14 months. And 5 were female and 9 were male, and most of the infants were white. 6 were from more than one race. Families attended almost all of the sessions. We had 12 families that attended all 8 sessions. These sessions, due to some of our recruitment challenges and the funding timeline, we had a very short period of time, so this was intentionally intended to be done over 8 weeks of time, and what we found was we were not having enough time and allowing for some holidays and things like that. So these families were amazing, and they all agreed to come twice a week for across 6 weeks. And speak to account for vacations and things like that. So we had twice-a-week sessions, and we did it in 3 small groups. This was also to accommodate family schedulings. So we had a small group of 4 families in the morning, a group in the afternoon, and then a group in the evening. And all of the families completed all of our measures, including the pre- and post-assessments. One family only attended 7 sessions because of illness, and another family attended 6 sessions. So when we look at our conversational turns, so again, conversational turns are considered to have occurred when the infant vocalizes and an adult vocalizes back to them within a 5-second duration, or vice versa. The adult vocalizes first and the infant gets a response. That's considered a conversational turn. When a conversational turn is sustained through a series of multiple conversational turn interactions between the adult and the infant, and it's based on 3 or more interactions in that time period and on the same topic, that's considered a conversational episode. So we had our coders code the occurrences of conversational turns and conversational episodes, both in the play, sing, and read context and in the post-play, sing, and read context. The coders were blinded to the context. We mixed the videos up, and they were only listening to the audio. They were not watching the video. And so with our coders, we had 90% or greater inter-rater reliability for 20% of our total sample. And when we separate the data by context, we did not get any significant results pre and post until we started looking at the different contexts in which, and where I've circled here, we saw a definite increase in the mean conversational turns and episodes in the singing context, which means basically parents were singing more and vocalizing in response to their infant after they experienced the intervention than before, which was surprising to me. I didn't expect them to sing more at the end, so that was kind of fun to see. And this may have made more meaning when we look at our music at home outcomes and the enactment questionnaire. When we look at the Music at Home questionnaire, this was a questionnaire that's been developed and validated that evaluates child active engagement with music and parent initiation of music activities. Parents reported high rates of engagement in a variety of activities at both time points, before and after the intervention, with parents on average agreeing or strongly agreeing with each statement at each time point. And in most cases, there was no significant change over time in terms of parents' beliefs about music in their home, their child's active engagement with music, parent initiation of singing, or general music at home, except when we looked at the initiation of the parent of making music with their child at home. That did have a significant change from pre to post. When we look at the enactment survey that we'd asked parents to do at each session, we can see a clear increase in the use of and number of songs introduced, which the parents sing at home. So we used all the songs in each session, but obviously parents got more comfortable with singing the songs over the 8 sessions, but they also were starting to sing more of the songs, and so that's the top line, the yellow line here, where this is session 2 to session 8. They were singing more of the songs from the intervention, and then in the context, the number of contexts reported, this is this bottom line at the bottom, and we start to see that they are singing in different and more contexts than they were singing with their baby before the intervention. We also did the SPEAK questionnaire, and the SPEAK questionnaire evaluates parents' expectations and knowledge of language development and learning in early childhood. So it measures the malleability of intelligence. So what are the parents' beliefs about how influential they can be in changing their child's intelligence, their beliefs about early learning and math and language, and beliefs of bilingual language learning, as well as media exposure. And both pre and post, we had high scores on this measure that showed parents had more knowledge in these areas, and that they were high on all subscales and didn't show any significant change over time. So, does IPLS show promise to boost parent-infant early language-rich interactions? In this group of parents, what we saw was this intervention helped boost their experiences of music. And from the literature, we know that engaging in musical experiences and actively engaging with your child can contribute to language-rich environments. So it does show promise in doing that, and I think some of our future directions will help strengthen the intervention even more. So our future directions are to look at our AIM2 outcomes, which is to really evaluate intervention implementation of this within the community context. We had this intervention provided by board-certified music therapists, and so It's a manualized intervention, and that's sometimes hard for clinicians to do from any discipline. And so part of this, we're looking at the interventionist acceptability, and we're currently coding their interviews. And we're evaluating implementation fidelity as well from this feasibility study. We are also working to further operationalize the music-based intervention. Most music-based interventions do not directly connect theory to how the music and why the music is contributing to the change. And while this was developed intentionally to address language development, we need more strength in the theory of the intervention, and so we are currently working on that as well. We have a follow-up acceptability survey that's going to the parents that participated in this feasibility study, and we just received IRB approval for that, so I will be launching that next week. And then we are doing some behavioral coding of the music group sessions themselves to see what infant acceptability was, how did they tolerate the experience, what were some of their emotional expressions related to that, and their language responsiveness, particularly for each of the components that were aiming at certain aspects of language development. And then do we see differences in parents-attuned reciprocal interactions? So our long-term goal is to develop this into something that promotes language development and can be utilized in the community context. And then I just want to thank all the people that were involved. Can't do anything by yourself. And my co-investigators, Brenda Sally from the Baby Lab at KU Med Center and Amy Smith at the Vanderbilt Music Cognition Lab. They were wonderful, and all of the people that helped me and the KU Lifespan Institute that got me through this grant with all their support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Questions? Wonderful talk. Thank you. Do you know, I was looking at the 3 interventions, and my initial impression was that in the singing, it's face-to-face with the child, especially if it's a parent doing it with the child. I sort of had 2 related questions. Do you know how much, either visually watching the parent, seeing the face, et cetera, and is it known in the literature, for example, if there's any difference between face-to-face with the parent versus the group sessions? If you're using the same music, how different is it?
Yeah. I think the face-to-face interactions are actually really important, and this was kind of one of those happy accidents that happened to us in this experience, that we intended it to be a group interaction because that social experience is really important. But then one of the families enrolled was concerned about immunizations, and we couldn't ask whether babies were immunized. And so in a way to protect and distance a little bit, she was comfortable if she could be distanced, but we didn't want that to be the only dyad that was distanced. We actually took our mats that were like puzzle pieces that we had on the floor, and we created 4 square for each family dyad, which worked great for the morning and the infant and the evening group because it was really parent and infant focused, and they were really interacting together. And then in the noon group, the babies weren't having any of that. They were moving, and in the first 2 sessions, we had it was 4 families and their 4 babies on 1 4-square mat. So we made the decision to let that happen. And what was anecdotally, because we haven't analyzed those sessions, what we're seeing is other parents are also doing face-to-face interaction, and then the babies started doing it with each other. So this was really fun, I have to say. It was, I think everybody had a good time. But that's a really good question, and I think an important aspect when we think about some of the other music enrichment programs that are out there. They're very based in a group context. But we kind of did it a little bit in a group, but also individually. So I think that will be fun to explore more. Good question, though.
Deanna, thank you very much. Really great talk. I love these topics, and it's very impressive you have the parents to come twice a week.
I know.
There's a lot of work. Just one quick question. Can you remind me, do you have a control group?
We do not. No.
Okay.
This was a 1-arm feasibility study, so we just put them in these groups, and we did not have a control.
Yeah, is that something you're thinking in the future
yes.
potentially?
And one of the things that I'm curious about, these songs are written intentionally, and we're strengthening them specifically to target these things. So for example, as we're building the theoretical aspects of the intervention and strengthening those, the phrasing of songs. So the first song is Good Morning, right? And what we're noticing, or hello baby, I see you. And we have one pause in the song as it's originally written that provides an opportunity for a vocal exchange. And so if we change the meter from 4/4 to 3/4, and we shorten the phrasing and leave more spaces. So this intentionality in how the songs are actually constructed and composed and then facilitated is more intentional to what we're trying to achieve. So the comparison is then just singing play songs with your baby, or other songs that are not written specifically to target language. Yeah. So that's where I think this is heading.
Yeah, the control group, just a normal music education.
A normal music education experience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just one other question. 6 to 14 months is a huge age gap.
Yep.
Like, do you see any differences behaviorally during the classes, 6 months versus 14 months?
Yes, so we haven't analyzed this data yet, but anecdotally, it was really interesting that the very young infants, some of them couldn't sit up yet, so we were providing supports for them that way. But also the aspects of early language development are, you need joint attention, and then that aspect of gesturing, and then more and more complex vocalizations. And so in each component of the intervention, all of those things are scaffolded, but we're really aiming at specific targets of joint attention in the early parts of the session, building on that with gestures, and then building on that with more intentional vocalizations. So we're also able to code the behaviors of the infant based on their developmental trajectory. And I think the other happy accident that happened is, instead of doing this over 8 weeks, we did this in 4 weeks. So there was less developmental change in the babies that we have to account for. But that is a complex aspect of how we're going to do this range. And we might need to narrow the range.
Awesome. Thank you so much.